Welcome to the Inner Code, the space where silence speaks louder than noise, where reality bends, not by force, but by stillness, and where your power to create doesn't come from what you do, but from who you are, when all doing stops. Today we step into a forgotten sanctuary, a place within you that most have never visited, not because it's hidden, but because it's still. A place Neville Goddard spoke of in whispers, a dimension of quiet so deep it alters everything around it. He called it the silence of God, the still point, from which all creation flows. So what if I told you that the loudest miracles are born in silence, that the door you've been knocking on opens the moment you stop knocking? Let's begin.
We live in an age of sound, of constant stimulation, screens blinking, notifications buzzing, minds racing. There's a storm, not outside, but inside. A noise we've come to normalize. We wake up into it. We carry it into the shower, into the car, into every sacred moment that once belonged to stillness. And we wonder why we feel disconnected, why the manifestations stall, why the vision board gathers dust, why our desires seem louder than our results. But here's the truth no one told you. The universe doesn't respond to noise. It responds to resonance. And resonance cannot rise from chaos. It is born in stillness. Neville once wrote, "You do not move towards what you want. You become still and let what you want move toward you." But how many of us can truly be still? Not just quiet, still. Not just silent, empty. You see, the mind is clever. It can mimic silence with mantras. It can fake peace with practices. But beneath it all, it's still running, calculating, predicting, grasping. And that's the trap. Because in the noise of the mind, there's no space for the divine. What if I told you the greatest block to your next level isn't effort, belief, or strategy? It's that you're afraid to stop, afraid to sink beneath the sound, afraid of the void. But in that void is the code. Most know Neville Goddard as the prophet of imagination, and rightly so. He taught that imagination creates reality, that assuming the feeling of the wish fulfilled is the key to manifestation. But few remember that before he ever imagined, he stilled. In one of his lesser-known lectures, he spoke of a profound quietude, a silence so deep it becomes form, a stillness so alive it bursts motion. He called it the secret center, the eye of the storm, the place where the Father who sees in secret hears the cry of your assumption, not because it's loud, but because it's real. Quantum silence, not the absence of sound, the presence of potential. In quantum physics, the void is not emptiness. It is a field of infinite probability, a fertile ground waiting for the observer, you, to collapse possibility into reality. Neville didn't have the language of quantum mechanics, but he had the experience of it. He knew that in stillness the field responds, that when you quiet the outer, the inner becomes God, that when nothing moves, everything moves. This is the paradox. You stop, and life begins. You silence the need, and the need fulfills itself. You drop the effort, and the result finds you. Neville didn't teach us to scream our affirmations to the universe. He taught us to become the vibration of fulfillment, and that becoming happens not in action, but in stillness. So how do we enter this stillness? Not just for 5 minutes of meditation, but as a living, breathing, reality-shifting state. Here begins the experiment. Step 1, stop filling the space. Pause before you pick up your phone. Breathe before you respond. Notice the micro moments between doing and simply being. Step 2, create sacred stillness zones, not hours, just minutes. In line at the grocery store, before sleep, upon waking. Drop into the body, let the breath anchor you. Feel the stillness between each inhale and exhale. There's a door there. And step 3, observe the noise without following it. You're not trying to silence the thoughts, you're witnessing them dissolve, like waves returning to ocean. In that space, speak no words, ask for nothing, desire nothing, be only awareness. This is not meditation as the world sells it. This is micro-stillness, portable transcendence. Neville said, to be still means to surrender your attention, to withdraw it from the world and focus it on being. That is the experiment. Withdraw the senses, sink into being. Watch what begins to move around you. Because here's what happens. When you stop chasing outcomes, outcomes start chasing you. When you become still, reality reshapes to match your inner frequency. It doesn't respond to your need. It responds to your being. In this sacred stillness, a new world begins. One not built from effort but essence, not from sound but signal. And when you live from this place, life becomes effortless. Not because nothing happens, but because everything flows through you, not from you. In the next chapter of this journey, we'll go deeper into how this stillness holds the very key to unlocking quantum shifts, rewiring your timeline, and anchoring a power you forgot you had. But for now, let this silence speak. You've heard the phrase, be still and know that I am God. But did you ever stop to truly know what it means? In that single command lies a forgotten key, stillness, not just as rest, not just as escape, but as access, access to the creative force of the universe, not outside of you, but as you. You see, the world teaches us to strive, hustle, push, assert, and yes, there is a season for action, but action divorced from stillness is noise. It is like playing music without tuning your instrument. You may be loud, but you're not in harmony. Neville understood this. He knew that the truest creation begins before any movement occurs, in the silence between the thoughts, in the space between desire and fulfillment. Stillness is not the end, it is the beginning. It is where the seed is planted before the tree ever grows. And that seed is awareness. Let me paint a picture for you. There was once a woman, we'll call her Elise. Elise was tired of chasing money, tired of forcing relationships, tired of screaming her affirmations into a chaotic room and hearing nothing back. One night she sat down exhausted. No vision board, no goal sheet, no law of attraction video on loop. She just sat, closed her eyes, and listened to the silence. At first, the chatter in her mind was unbearable, but instead of fighting it, she just let it pass. Thoughts came, she watched. Emotions rose, she breathed. Eventually, everything settled, and there, in that soft, infinite quiet, she felt it. Not a voice, not a light, but a shift, a knowing. She wasn't separate from what she wanted. She already was it. And in the days that followed, things began to move. Unexpected opportunities, phone calls, Ideas that felt like downloads. Money, not because she chased it, but because she stopped blocking it with noise. This is the quantum response to stillness. The universe, like a mirror, cannot reflect your desires until you stop moving the mirror. Stillness aligns the signal. Let's bridge the mystical with the measurable. In quantum physics, there's something known as the observer effect. The idea is simple, yet radical. Particles behave differently when observed. That means reality itself is altered based on your state of awareness. When you observe something, your attention collapses its wave of possibilities into a single concrete outcome. Now ask yourself, from what state are you observing? From fear? From lack? From desperation? Then you collapse that reality. But from stillness, from presence, from knowing, you collapse miracles. This isn't poetic. It's physics aligned with metaphysics. Neville may never have said observer effect, but he lived it. When he taught that imagining creates reality, he wasn't teaching visualization. He was teaching identity. A state of being so total, so absorbing, so still, that the imagined becomes more real than what is seen. And what is seen must then conform. This is how the quantum field operates. It doesn't respond to frantic commands. It aligns to the dominant vibration, which always speaks loudest in silence, because silence is the language of the field. The frequency of the infinite. There's an ancient teaching echoed across every spiritual tradition. Quote, "The kingdom of God is within you, not above, not after death, not found in temples built by hands." Quote, within. But how can you access that kingdom if you never enter the sanctuary? The modern world has stolen our access. It trades our attention for dopamine. It robs our inner temple for profit. But here's the secret. Stillness is how you reclaim it. The still mind becomes the throne. The breath becomes the key. The body becomes the temple. And in that temple, in that holy hush, you meet the God of your own being, not an external deity, but your own I am. Neville's core message was this: your I amness is God. So when you sit in silence, without label or name, and rest in pure being, you are sitting with the Creator. No prayer needed, no plea required, only presence. From that presence, your world reshapes. Now let's address something. Stillness doesn't mean passivity. It is not about withdrawing from life. True stillness is not escapism. It's engagement from a higher plane. It's the calm beneath the storm, the eye within the hurricane, the presence that watches without reacting. You can be walking, moving, creating, and still be still. It's not about silence around you. It's about silence within you. Neville called this inner movement. He said, "You move within imagination, and the world moves with you. But that movement is not always loud. It's subtle. It's precise. It's still. It's knowing without needing. It's being without striving. It's commanding without forcing. When you embody this state, you become the cause, not the effect. You stop reacting. You begin creating effortlessly, not because you did more, but because you finally stop long enough for the truth to rise." Neville once spoke of the law of reversibility. He said, If a physical fact can produce a psychological state, then the reverse is true. A psychological state can produce a physical fact. And the gateway to psychological transformation? Stillness. When you become still, you dissolve identification with the external. You create space for the internal state to shift. And that shift reverses the outer world. It's like a tuning fork. Change your inner note, and reality must harmonize with your new vibration. Stillness makes that shift possible. Without resistance, without control, without delay, because in stillness there's no time, no resistance, only now. And now is where creation happens.
So here you are, no longer a seeker chasing echoes, but a creator, learning to hum the silent song of the cosmos. And in this silence, you remember. You were never trying to manifest. You were always meant to become. In the next breath of this unfolding narration, we will enter the practical integration, how to live this principle day to day, how to bring stillness into chaos, and how to make it your superpower in a world that never stops screaming. But for now, pause, breathe, and let the silence continue your transformation. Now that we've touched the silence, now that we've stood at the doorway of the temple within, the question arises, how do we bring this stillness into everyday life? How do we walk through the noise and not become it? How do we carry this sacred hush into a world that's addicted to motion? The answer isn't found in retreating to a mountaintop. You don't need a cave. You don't need to escape your job, your family, or the notifications that pull at your soul. You need only one thing, a return to awareness. Stillness isn't the absence of activity, it's the presence of awareness in activity. That means you can be washing dishes and still. You can be walking through traffic and still. You can be holding a crying child and still. Because stillness is not what you're doing, it's how you're being. And the more you remember, the more your life begins to harmonize. So here are 3 sacred integrations, practical doorways to bring stillness into your daily rhythm. 1. The sacred pause. Before every action, insert a pause. Not a long one, just a breath, a beat, a moment, a space between impulse and response. Neville said, "The silence is the source of all creative power." When you pause, you return to that source. You reset your energy before you send it out. In that pause, you choose. Do I act from fear or from faith? Do I react to the world or create from within? This sacred pause recalibrates your frequency. It tunes you into the field of infinite potential. The more you practice it, the more magnetic you become. 2. Micro-stillness practices. Forget the pressure of perfect meditation. You don't need an hour in lotus pose. You need 5 seconds of presence, again and again, throughout the day. Micro-stillness is a practice of returning to breath, returning to center, returning to now. You can do it while waiting in line, while brushing your teeth, before you speak, before you send the message, before you go to sleep. Just stop. Feel the air move through you. Listen to the silence beneath the noise, and say to yourself, I am here. Neville would often lie in bed in silence, dwelling not on effort, but on being. He didn't push the wish fulfilled. He rested in the feeling of completion. Micro-stillness gives you access to that feeling, instantly. And from that feeling, your reality bends. 3. The waking and sleeping gateways. The 2 most powerful moments in your day are the first 5 minutes after waking and the last 5 minutes before sleep. Why? Because in those moments the conscious mind is relaxed, the subconscious is open, and your state of being speaks loudest. Use these windows not to force desire, but to become the desired state. Upon waking, don't reach for the world. Reach for awareness. Breathe. Notice. Anchor yourself in gratitude and presence. Before sleeping, withdraw from the day, not by thinking through it, but by releasing it. Empty your mind into the stillness. Drop into the void. Neville called sleep the gateway to the subconscious. And whatever you carry into sleep, you plant into the soil of your future. So instead of worry, carry peace. Instead of lack, carry fullness. Instead of need, carry gratitude. Let stillness do the planting.
Stillness and the truth behind them. You may be thinking, I can't quiet my mind. But stillness doesn't require silence of thought. It requires non-attachment to thought. Thoughts will come, let them, don't follow. Don't resist. You're not here to fight the river. You're here to sit on the bank and watch it flow. You may also believe, I don't have time. But stillness isn't found in time. It's found in moments. And everyone has a moment. The breath before the meeting. The silence before the reply. The space between songs. The pause before the scroll. You don't need to add anything. You only need to subtract noise. And lastly, you may fear, if I stop moving, everything will fall apart. But what if the opposite is true? What if things only seem to work because you keep holding them up, and stillness is the moment you realize they were never heavy at all, that life flows better when you stop gripping it, that miracles arrive faster when you stop chasing them, that clarity speaks louder when you stop interrupting it, that your power doesn't grow through control, but through surrender. This is the great reversal, the paradox that the world doesn't teach you, that stillness is not weakness. It is the highest form of strength. So now, you've felt the call, you've tasted the silence, you've remembered the truth. Are you ready to live it? I invite you right now to join the Stillness Principle Challenge. 7 days, 7 sacred practices, 1 transformation. Here's your invitation. For the next 7 days, take 3 micro moments of stillness each day, morning, midday, night. Just a breath, a pause, a remembering. No pressure, no perfection. Let it be messy, let it be awkward, let it be enough. Keep a journal, notice the shifts, not just outside, but inside. And if you feel called, share your experience in the comments below. Let's create a ripple, a community experiment in collective stillness. Let's show the world that creation doesn't require noise, it requires presence. You were never here to fight for your manifestations. You are here to remember that you are the manifestation. Your being is the blueprint. Your stillness is the signal. Your surrender is the doorway. Neville taught not the law of effort, but the law of assumption. And assumption is born not from desperation, but from identity. When you are still enough to know who you are, the world responds in kind. So let go. Let go of control. Let go of striving. Let go of proving. And let the silence reveal what's been waiting to find you. In this next and final phase of our journey, we will step beyond practice into identity. We will discover how to become the stillness, not as something you do, but as who you are. We will explore what Neville called the final revelation, that silence is not a tool, but your truest self in disguise. So close your eyes, take a breath, Let the next chapter begin in stillness. To not just use stillness as a means to an end, but to embody it as your identity. Because true mastery is not in visiting the sacred, but in realizing that you are the sacred. You are not someone who enters stillness. You are the stillness into which the world appears. All the techniques, all the teachings, they've pointed here, to this final shift, not from doing, but from being, not from control, but from consciousness. And in this sacred becoming, you remember you are not the one trying to manifest peace. You are peace itself, remembering its name. Neville hinted at this in his deepest works. He spoke of a place within where you become the state, where the imaginal act and the one imagining become one. Stillness, then, is not a strategy. It's the substance of your divine nature. When the noise of ego falls away, what remains is you, pure, untouched, whole, not a body, not a mind, but awareness, the silent witness, the I am before all names. And it is from this place, this identity of silence, that true creation begins.
Close your eyes for a moment. Say silently within, I am. Not I am this, not I am that. Just I am. Now feel what's behind the words. That quiet presence. That unshaken awareness. That unmoving stillness. That is you. Before the roles, before the story, before the beliefs. Neville said, your awareness of being is who you truly are. That which you are aware of being, you become. So if you are aware of being still, you become the field of infinite creation. This is the highest truth of the Stillness Principle. It's not just about attracting wealth. It's not just about reshaping relationships or bending reality. It's about returning to the origin, the original silence from which all things are spoken. When God created the heavens and the earth, what preceded the word? Silence. And what followed? Light. Creation begins not with speech, but with stillness. It is only through stillness that the Word carries power. The Word was with God. The Word was God. And the silence was the womb of it all. So when you dwell in silence, you dwell in the presence before all form. And from that presence, your reality rearranges without resistance. Stillness is often misunderstood as emptiness, a lack, a void. But that's only how the ego perceives it. In truth, stillness is fullness beyond form. It is presence without polarity. It is life without label. Most of us are trapped in duality. Good, bad, success, failure. Manifested, not manifested. But in stillness, those opposites collapse. There is only being. No striving, no judging, no separating. Just the awareness that precedes all difference, and in that awareness, a great freedom. The freedom to create without needing. The freedom to love without fear. The freedom to exist without apology. Neville once said, all transformation begins with an intense, burning desire to be transformed. But what is desire truly? It is the soul's memory of its own potential.
And that potential awakens fully only in stillness. Because only in stillness do you stop searching long enough to remember what you already are. You are the stillness in which desire rises. You are the awareness that watches the world move. You are the source, not the seeker.
Think of the most powerful forces in the universe. Gravity, magnetism, the orbit of planets, the breath of stars. They do not shout, they do not announce themselves, they do not force, they simply are. And because they are, the universe moves. This is the energy of true stillness. It is not passive, it is potent. It is not empty, it is everything. When you align with this frequency, not just temporarily, but as a lifestyle, you stop living from lack. You begin to live as the field. You become the center around which your reality organizes. You no longer react to the world reacts to you. This is the divine reversal. The shift from life is happening to me to life is emerging from me, not through effort, but through stillness. Stillness is the throne from which the true Creator rules. In ancient texts, there's a symbol that repeats itself, the garden. The garden is not a place, it is a state of original being, of harmony, of innocence, of creative power. Adam didn't toil in the garden, he named things and they became. That's the stillness principle in action. He lived in direct communion with the divine because there was no separation. No noise, no effort, just awareness and intention flowing from it. But the moment judgment entered, the moment the voice of doubt began to whisper, they were cast out, not by punishment, but by distraction. They forgot the silence, they forgot who they were, and the world became effort. But now you remember, and in remembering, you return to the garden, not someday, now. Every time you pause, every time you center, every time you rest in your I am, you re-enter that sacred state. You return to the place where naming creates, where awareness rules, where the river of life flows through you without resistance.
So here we are, not at the end, but at the true beginning. You've learned what stillness is, you've tasted its power, you've remembered your place within it. In the final movement of this sacred narration, we will anchor this wisdom into your being. We'll seal the transformation and call forth your divine authority as the silence that shapes worlds. Let the world grow quiet. Let the soul speak. Let the Creator awaken. You've walked through the noise, you've tasted the silence, you've remembered your origin. Now the final veil lifts, and in the quiet something begins to move, not from outside you, not from some cosmic force in the sky, but from within you. The stillness was never a tool. It was never just a method. It was always your original form, the echo of your divine identity before the world taught you otherwise. You were never meant to become powerful. You were born power. Wrapped in skin, wearing a name, carrying the memory of God as a whisper inside your chest, and now the whisper becomes a voice. The voice becomes a song, and the song becomes a command. A new world begins now, not through striving, but through knowing.
Neville Goddard often spoke of assuming the feeling of the wish fulfilled.
But this is the deepest assumption of all, that you are already complete, that the silence you seek is the voice of God within you, and that the most powerful thing you can ever do is be still and know. Know what? That I am. That before any dream, there is you. Before any desire, there is being. Before any outcome, there is presence. The final assumption isn't a future scene. It is the eternal now. It is the resting in I am that I am. And when you do, when you finally rest there, you do not need to ask the world to change. It must, because the world is but a mirror of your state, and your state has become silence itself. Stillness is not about passivity. It is the radical act of non-resistance. When you resist nothing, you let everything flow. The moment you stop pushing, creation begins to pull. The moment you surrender control, the field begins to organize itself around your peace. You don't need to chase what belongs to you. You need only to become the space where it arrives. You don't need to fight to become worthy. You need only to remember you always were. This is the wisdom Jesus whispered on the Mount. Do not be anxious about your life. Your Father knows what you need before you ask. What is that, Father? It is your own I am. Your deep identity, your formless self. And when you become still enough to know it, the entire universe becomes your servant. Not by force, but by alignment.
So how do you live this truth? You become the center, the silent axis around which your world spins. You walk into the storm and remain unmoved. You face the chaos and radiate calm. You sit in the unknown and declare, all is well. This is not fantasy. This is mastery. To hold peace in your nervous system when the outer world trembles. To hold stillness in your breath when everything else is shouting. To hold the knowing in your soul that you do not need to move mountains, because mountains move for those who dwell in stillness. They bow before the one who knows their place in God. There will come a time when someone looks at you and says, "You've changed. You're glowing. Everything seems to work for you." And you'll smile, not with pride, but with peace, because you'll know that the real change didn't come from doing more. It came from being less noisy. You remembered the forgotten code, the silent law, the still voice that parts the sea. Neville's teachings were never just about results. They were about return, a return to self, to God, to silence. Your stillness becomes your legacy, a lighthouse to others still caught in the storm, because in your silence, others remember theirs, and in your peace, others find the way. So now, as this journey draws to its close, and the final word nears the edge of this silence, I ask you not to remember everything I've said, but to remember how it made you feel, still, powerful, limitless, because that feeling is not from these words. It is from the silence they point to, that place within you, that stillness that lives underneath your name, your story, your striving. Let this be your beginning. Let this be your rebirth. The world needs your silence, now more than ever. Not your approval, not your perfection, just your presence. So go, breathe, pause, be still, and know you are God imagining. You are the quantum silence. You are the beginning of all things.
If this message resonated with you, if this silence stirred something in you that words never could, then stay with us, subscribe to the inner code, share this with someone who needs stillness more than strategy. Comment below with your experience, or just sit with it in quiet reverence. And if this work brought you value, you can support this channel with a simple gift of gratitude. You'll find a link in the description. Not as a request, but as a way to say, I remember who I am, and thank you for this mirror. Until next time, may your breath anchor you, may your awareness guide you, and may your stillness shape your world.